Welcome to The Explainer. So, have you ever walked into a room that was just insanely messy? Maybe it's that one junk drawer in the kitchen that somehow magically expanded to take over the entire counter, and you just instantly feel stressed standing there. Well, our minds are exactly like that room. Think about it. Your mind is a house. It's a space you literally inhabit every single second of the day. And just like a physical house, it gathers dust, dirt, and clutter over time. But we aren't talking about old receipts or misplaced keys here. We're talking about energetic clutter. Today, we're going to explore this totally fascinating concept that reveals why your mind needs a deep, energetic cleaning, and more importantly, exactly how you can do it.
I want you to really think about this for a second. What is actually creating disorder in the house of your mind right now? Are there specific fears, maybe old regrets, or just repeating negative thoughts that are acting as clutter in your mental space? We all have them. They pile up in the corners of our consciousness, often without us even realizing it, and they block out the light and take up incredibly valuable real estate. But here's the thing. Identifying that clutter, that is the absolutely crucial first step to sweeping it out.
To help us clear all this mental clutter, we're drawing from the brilliant insights of Florence Scovel Shinn. Specifically, we're looking at her work, The Magic Path of Intuition. Shinn was this amazing pioneer of the New Thought movement way back in the 1920s. And what absolutely blows my mind is how incredibly practical her teachings still are today. This isn't some abstract, dusty philosophy. Her work provides what is, literally, the ultimate blueprint for subconscious reprogramming. She gives us the actual tangible tools to rewire how we think and manifest our reality. Okay, let's dive into this. What does this mental clutter actually look like? Well, Shinn identifies some very specific negative thought forms that create all this disorder. We're talking about the belief in lack, the belief in loss, failure, troubles, disharmony, and sadness. When you hold on to these thoughts, you are essentially building a prison for yourself, brick by invisible brick. These beliefs keep you asleep. You're asleep to the good things meant for you and totally asleep to your own true potential simply because these negative thoughts are hoarding all the space in the house of your mind. Shinn contrasts two very distinct states of reality that we can choose to live in. See, most people are trapped in what she calls the third dimension. It's this dense, disorienting fog of appearances, fear, and doubt. It's exactly like walking through a heavy mist where you can't even see 2 feet in front of you. But our goal? Our goal is to step into the fourth dimension. This represents the bright white light of clear vision, absolute success, and divine order. We never, ever want to let the fog of the third dimension interfere with that radiant clarity of the fourth dimension. Now, to actually step into that fourth dimension, we have to recognize the traps we set for ourselves. And the biggest one? The prison of self-pity. Shinn is incredibly direct about this, which I love. She states that nobody keeps you from your promised land except yourself. Self-pity is hands down one of the most dangerous thought forms you can possibly harbor. Every single time you feel sorry for yourself, you are actively adding another lock to your own prison door. You are magnetically attracting the exact circumstances you're complaining about. Crazy, right? So how do we break out of this prison? Well, we use the spiritual broom. Here is the exact affirmation Shinn provides to clear out that space. Are you ready? The inner power sweeps from my mind, body, and affairs all that is not according to the divine plan and puts my things in order, now and forever. Take a second. Just let that sink in. Imagine a powerful, sweeping force, physically clearing out all the fear, all the doubt, and all that clutter we just talked about, leaving absolutely nothing but pristine order behind.
Now, what's really interesting about this metaphor is the mechanics behind it. The spiritual broom isn't just a nice, comforting idea. It's an active visualization tool. Why do you think Shinn uses the word sweep? Because sweep creates this immediate, visceral image of action. It is not passive at all. When you speak these words, you're utilizing the spoken word to actively neutralize fear and dissolve old stuck energy. Your word essentially becomes your magic wand, bringing that action straight into reality.
Think of this spiritual broom like a lantern illuminating the dark, or maybe even like the sun rising inside your mind. Imagine the warmth and the light of that rising sun completely, entirely dissolving that dense fog of the third dimension we discussed earlier. The shadows of failure and lack, they simply cannot exist when that inner light is turned on and actively sweeping through your consciousness. They just vanish.
Let's make this highly practical for you right now, okay? Here are 3 structured steps to actually prepare for that divine order. First, recognize the fear.
You've got to spot the clutter in your mental house. Second, speak the affirmation we just learned. Really use your word as a wand. And third, act without fear. You must face the lions in your path. If you just say the words but then cower in the corner, well, the mental clutter stays right where it is. You have to act in accordance with the clean, orderly mind you're creating.
So, the crucial point here is how we handle adversity in the moment. When you are in your deepest despair, you cannot just sit there and accept whatever label the world slaps on you. You must actively rename your situations. You actually have to baptize every failure with the name success. By consciously redefining what is happening to you, you immediately neutralize the fear associated with it. You stop that negative thought form dead in its tracks before it can even take root in your mind.
And listen, this requires strict discipline over what you consume and what you express. You absolutely must stop singing sad songs. Why? Because your subconscious mind is deeply, deeply impressionable. It absorbs whatever is profoundly felt. If you're constantly dwelling on negative narratives, or harboring anger, or repeating tales of woe to anyone who will listen, your subconscious takes that as literal instructions for what to build more of. You're basically bringing muddy shoes right back into the house you just swept clean.
Another brilliant concept from Shinn's work is what she calls your spiritual binoculars. Think about it like this. Your resources and blessings might feel super far away right now. To bring them closer, you use your spiritual binoculars. But what happens if the lenses are all smudged up with worry, doubt, and fear? Everything looks blurry and distant, right? You must continuously wipe away those negative emotions with fresh inspiration and faith so you can clearly see the good that is already prepared for you.
And this brilliantly illustrates that wiping away doubt isn't just a mental exercise, it requires real, physical action. Shinn shares these incredibly tangible anecdotes of this sweeping in action. For instance, there was one woman who wanted a new radio. So what did she do? She cleared a specific corner in her room and kept dusting it. She was preparing the space energetically and physically. Another woman, living in a tiny, cramped hotel room, went out and bought a carving knife to show active faith that her new, divinely built house was coming. They swept away the doubt by preparing for the blessing before it even arrived.
Which brings us to our final thought. What will you sweep away today to reveal your magic path? You have the spiritual broom, you have the affirmation, the power to clear out the self-pity, the doubt, and the fog is entirely 100% in your hands. I challenge you to step into that new consciousness today. Start cleaning your mental house immediately and watch as your inner power puts your things in order, now and forever. Thanks for hanging out with me on this explainer, and happy sweeping.